Hey everybody, Jake here with TrendSpider to go over the weekend analysis into April 15th. And we will take a look at SPY, QQQ, and XBI into Monday with SPY and the Qs looking pretty strong, but XBI kind of looking a little bearish at this point. So to start off with, we'll look at SPY on the weekly and the daily. And we can see here that we are approaching all-time highs. And that is shown by this line above with an alert set. So anytime that the price action does get in this alert area, which you can also see here on the daily, we will be alerted whenever that occurs. So as we continue to grind higher, we'll just have to see if we do get to this area or we reverse hard before that. Now, on the bullish side of things, we do continue to see more upside possible on the RSI here. So you can see the last time we really reversed, we did become overbought and then negative divergence started to show, and that was really the nail in the coffin here. But we do have more upside here. The percent range is in an area that has shown more upside in the past. So just because this is overbought doesn't necessarily mean that the price action is going to reverse. Sometimes it just means that momentum is very strong, like we saw here, and then we finally reversed once we caught up on the RSI being overbought. Now, the MACD is also showing signs of possibly an area of reversal. We have had this huge move with the fast kind of deviating from the slow here, similar to what we had on this big move to the downside, which is pretty much being mirrored now to the upside. And so we'll have to see if this does slowly start to curl over. And so the cool thing is we can track that. So when we go to alerts, I've already created an alert for this. It's the SPY potential breakdown. And so when we go here, we can see that I have created this alert for the MACD fast starting to decrease. So that is one of my conditions for the system to watch. Also, I will have the system watch if the percent range starts to break down below -40 and if the RSI starts to break down below 50. Now, on top of that, I also have the system start looking for different candlestick patterns that also may show up with this downside movement. So in this case, we have bullish, oh, those are bullish, not bearish. We can add the parameter here and we can go to the weekly candlestick pattern. Let's see, engulfing bearish, and you can start adding all of the different weekly bearish candles that you would like to see. So along with this lower indicator action. So in this case, maybe we do a Harami bearish, and then also maybe an advanced block bearish. Candlestick pattern. Or excuse me, not advanced block, 3 black crows. And so whenever these conditions also occur with these bearish candles, any one of them, we will be alerted for possibly a breakdown in the market. And this is simply just the indicators that I use. This doesn't mean that the market's going to continue to go down, but these are signals that I look for a potential breakdown. Everyone is going to have slightly different criteria that they would input here. So we'll save these edits. And now, as you can see, we really have a, what I would consider just a continued grind to all-time highs. But if things did start to break down, we do have that alert in place. Moving on to the Qs, we can see here that we are looking very similar on this ETF, nearing all-time highs here. You can see that on the weekly candle. And it's very interesting to see we've only had one red weekly candle in 2019. So that is pretty miraculous, honestly. And the thing is, we do have not only the strong price action, but we have a ton of gaps below, which at one point or another, I think will eventually fill. This could continue to grind up way above all-time highs before that happens, but this is something to consider on the downside. So from a bullish point of view, it does look like bulls are very much in control here. From a bearish point of view, we are starting to get a little overbought here. So remember, in the SPY chart, we could see that we were not necessarily at this overbought level yet, but we are at this overbought level on the Qs. Now, we go back a little further, and becoming overbought at this level hasn't always been a bad thing. Generally, this either means we're going to reverse pretty soon, or the market could just continue to rip like it did back in 2017 and also back in 2017 as well, but a little later in October. So just because we're at this level doesn't mean we're ready to reverse. That did happen in the last all-time high scenario, but generally divergence will show its head somewhere before a bigger move occurs. So from this point of view, same thing. It does look pretty bullish. That's solely based on my opinion. I'm not a licensed broker or advisor. Really just do these videos to show how you can use our platform on a day-to-day basis. Moving on to the last one, XBI. This is where things get a little interesting. So SPY and QQQ were very kind of bullish. Now XBI is looking a little bearish here. So we've got this big move down, closed near the low of the week. And one thing that we're seeing here that we were not seeing on SPY or the Qs is the histogram kind of flattening out here. And that's a function of just the fast starting to kind of not deviate from the slow as much. And so that's why this histogram is kind of flattening out here. So I look at that as kind of some divergence. And the last time we had that on the downside, notice the price action was moving down here, but then the histogram was actually kind of flattening out and almost moving up. And so I am watching for that here as well. If we do continue to the downside, that would be something to watch. And on top of that, we do have divergence forming with the higher highs here on the price action, but then we have the lower highs on the relative strength. So we will just have to see what happens here. Another thing to note on the daily side of things, the price action is nowhere near all-time highs, very different from SPY and QQQ. So we are nearing this wedge support, which has been tested 7 times before. We'll have to see if this holds, or we do have a bigger breakdown into next week. And that would be possibly down to the 61.8% level on the weekly fib. Notice we did really hit the 78.6% level last week, and we rejected very hard. And that was at a confluence with this this daily ascending wedge type formation. So you can see here that not only did price reject at this level, but it was also at the weekly fib level as well. So we'll just have to see what happens next week. Notice this has a lot more red, but still there is upside in 2019. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's been 6 red candles here and only 1 in the Qs. So I'm not looking at this too deeply, but it is something to definitely keep in mind into next week as divergence does try to form. Thank you everyone so much for listening in and learning a little more about our platform as we go over the broad market ETFs. And we will have another updated video for the Thursday analysis next week. If you have any questions at all about the TrendSpider platform or how any of our alerts or automated technical features work, please feel free to reach out at hello@trendspider.com, or you can also reach out through our social media accounts and we will be happy to reply there as well. Everyone have a good weekend and thank you so much for listening in.